excited to talk about this piece because I don't know if you saw Reagan's interview at Golden Goggles. There were tons of headlines, and I don't feel like you got to share your side of it as much. So I'd love to hear, you get the call, you get the opportunity to come to Texas, then what?
Okay, this is how it went. It was a relatively long process for me. It was short for everybody else in the world. For me, it was long.
Yeah.
I think it was the Monday before the women's Pac-12s. So we're talking about 5 weeks maybe before NCAAs.
Okay.
I got it. It's funny. I got a call from this guy who's a headhunter, right? I won't mention his name because he has to operate out there. But I knew him because I had helped him on coaching searches before. He had asked me if I was interested in jobs, and I had recommended people for other jobs. So we were kind of friends a little bit, at least by text. So he calls me up, and I was like, well, he wants to know who I think should get the Texas job. And he calls me up, and I was like, well, you want to talk about Texas, right? He's like, yeah. And I was like, well, have you thought about these? He's like, no, they want to talk to you. I was like, what? I was shocked, actually. And I said, well, okay, I'll have a call. So probably the day after that, I had a call with Sarah Baumgartner, who's our just amazing AD here, absolutely amazing woman. And she asked me if I would be interested, and she said, do you want to talk about this position? And the first thing I said was, will I have the ability to go back to Phoenix anytime I want and see my grandchildren? First question. She's like, absolutely. I was like, yeah, I want to talk about it. If she had said no, I'd be like, thanks, because that's important to me. We can maybe talk about that later.
We
got into, so every week after that, we were just having these calls. And in the beginning, it was kind of like, even in my mind, I was like, I'm not really going to do this. I'm really happy at ASU. We're about to win, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm up for it, but there was something pulling at me to do it. And every week, I got a little bit closer. So the next week, we talked about what would it look like for me to be director of swimming and diving at Texas. And she asked for my vision of that, and I kind of gave what that would look like. And then the next week, it was like money. There's some stuff starting to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So by the time we got to the women's NCAAs, Sarah flew out and met with me during that meet and all this clandestine thing. And during this whole time, the only people I talked about this with were my parents, Michael and Nicole Phelps. That was it.
You really couldn't talk to anyone else about it.
And I told her in the beginning, I was like, if any part of this search compromises ASU's chance to win a championship, my answer is no right there. It's just done. And I was terrified, even to the day NCAA started, that somebody was going to leak this and the team would know and it would just affect our thing. And it didn't. To Texas's credit, they were very good about that. So we kind of kept going through that. And after her visit there, I was like, wow, this is pretty far along. And I had my laundry list of questions, and she answered all of those things and checked all the boxes. And then I went to the Men's Institute straight from there. And we had a call the first day I got there, and they sent me they call it term sheet, right? It has what it all looks like. Kind of a binding, but not really thing. Mm-hmm. And then Chris Del Conte and I had a very long call, and I remember it was like the Tuesday before NC2A started on Wednesday. I'm in a hotel in Indianapolis, and Chris Del Conte's like, everything good with this? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, congratulations, you're the new head coach at Texas. And I was sitting, I'm sure I looked like I wasn't the least bit excited because I was like, okay. Right before I had taken it. And then we started the meet, and nobody knew about it. The meet went great. Our guys were fantastic. ASU absolutely killed it, just like we knew they could. And then really, I had begged Texas to maybe give me some time after.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't do that. They said it's got to be the Monday after. And so that was why I kind of gave up. So that's why it was so abrupt. We finished on Saturday night, had this amazing celebration with the ASU team. On Sunday, I actually signed the real contract. And then on Monday, I had to tell the team, tell ASU, and kind of make that happen. The reason that it also happened so quickly is that I chose not to go to ASU and kind of play both ends against the middle for a better deal, because I knew if I did that, it would come out. Yeah. And I couldn't risk having those guys, because people talk about these things. So I didn't really do any back and forth. I just took the Texas job. And it was fine. That was okay. And also in my mind, I wanted to consider what was good for me, but what was good for ASU. And in my mind, Herbie was always the long-term solution for ASU. He loves it. He's a Sun Devil, perfectly ready to take over, doing an amazing job now. So it opened up that opportunity for him.
Yeah.
Caught him by surprise, too. It's kind of interesting that Monday morning. I don't know what happened. I was like, when we landed on Sunday from NCAA, I'm like, okay, team meeting tomorrow at 2 for everybody. Everybody seemed to be like, okay. And in the morning, I was like, Herb, I'd like to meet with you about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And so I had already been across the street and done some things, and I came back. I was like, well, today is your day. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, in about 4 hours, you're going to be the head coach of this program. So go across the street and work out your deal.
Oh, was his face just
He was like, whoa, okay. I'm like, yeah. So it was actually very exciting. I was super happy for him. Great for him and Megan. It was very tough that we had to just kind of tell the team. I literally told the team in a 2 o'clock meeting. It actually went much better than I thought. It was very short. They were super excited about Herbie. I got to tell them about that. And then I just walked out, got on a plane, and came here.
Wow.
So it was a whirlwind of things. And I think the thing that made it so abrupt is that I just didn't want to do any long negotiating with ASU because I didn't want it to come out so the team would know beforehand.
Well, you also have the Olympics in 4 months.
Yeah, that
too.
was
It's not
coming up,
like
too.
you have
No,
like a
I always
long
do
runway
everything
after.
on Olympic years. I went to Michigan Olympic year. I went to ASU the year of the Olympics. I always do all of that. I just can't do it in like a low-key year. But anyway.
How did you manage those two buckets? Because obviously you're first and foremost thinking about the college team. You didn't want it to get out because you didn't want to affect their focus. How did you then manage, obviously, the aftermath with, I mean, how many pros at that point did you have?
We had like 10. That was tough. The immediate aftermath was tough because it was like, once I took the job at Texas, and this was fine, I couldn't talk to anybody at ASU from the NC2A. So the college team, that was fine.
Yeah.
If somebody like Hubie or Leon wanted to talk to me, they had to go in the portal. And actually, Leon was different. He was a pro, so the compliance kind of allowed him to talk to me a little bit. The pros, I talked to immediately. We had it set up here for them. And actually, for them, it was the transition of moving and stuff was a complete pain, right? They had leases. They had all of that kind of stuff. But the swimming is actually easy because I wasn't doing anything with the college team. Eddie basically coached the college team until after the trial.
Yeah.
So while I was here kind of setting things up, I just coached them. I didn't coach any of the Texas guys all summer. So that was a pretty good thing. And actually the group we had here was almost all of them. And that worked well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't as big a deal as the college part was. There's a lot of anxious people and, it was, what are we going to do? And me not being able to really help too much. I just had to kind of wait and see how things played out. But I think in the end, everybody kind of smoothed out.